Hirlock and Minister, I welcome these amendments as well. I think it's critically important. You know, I said when I talked about affordable cost rental, the two values that it really brings to renters are security of tenure and affordability. And for that to be really delivered to every renter in an affordable cost rental, it has to be uniform, it has to be standardised, and there can't be local vagaries and variations to it. And this is all about, I suppose, trying to improve the security of people's tenure in their own home. And it is a brand new scheme. It is a new way of the provision of homes in our country. And so I do think that those two elements, the security of tenure and the affordability, being standardised right across on a uniform basis is critically important. It builds on, I suppose, the work that you've done as well in terms of improving and enhancing protections for renters, the continuation of the rent pressure zones and the capping of rent increases at inflation. I think that has been very welcomed by renters. It gives them some certainty and certainly should improve affordability. But Minister, I would just urge you that when this is passed and when the regulations are passed, that there is a wider information campaign from your department, because there's an awful lot of interest, but as Senator Cummins said, there are questions, and I think it would be really beneficial if your department was to undertake an information campaign.
Just the very last point raised there by the Senator, specifically around the regulations. I intend to have the regs around cost rental published in 3 to 4 weeks. The reason why we explained this in the Dáil as well, and the regulations for cost rental and indeed for affordable purchases, they're easier to change and review if they're in regulation as opposed to in primary legislation. So if I had to bring a change forward, you know, as we roll it out, I envisage there will be changes as we're seeing how this works. We'll be going on a net income basis as well, which will be significantly high to take in low, medium income families and individuals, which is where we're targeting this. And that's why there's no distinction between an individual or a family in this. So what I think is, we're in July, certainly by mid-August, because the first tenants that are coming in through our first few schemes that are coming out will operate under those regulations, and they'll be published and they'll be laid before the Houses of the Oireachtas. We're still doing a little bit of work on them. When they do, I think it might be useful in the September we can come back in and discuss them, but it means that it's more flexible for us, because I do envisage as we move along, there's been some issues that have been flagged already. Senator Cummins mentioned about his own county and the median prices on other things. So there's some things, these are new schemes we'll need to work through as we embed them. And that's why I think regulations is the more appropriate way forward, as opposed to just having an arbitrary cap on salary or on net income, or, you know, so we'll work that through. The other points raised as well, look, I envisage our cost rental homes certainly are going to be new homes. There'll be NZEB, there'll be, you know, top-rated homes, any of the ones I've visited as well, built to the very, very best of standards. So, look, I think this is a new form of housing tenure. I am incredibly excited about it, because I think the capacity and the interest in this as well from both from government who are supporting it, but maybe from ethical funds as well, that we see in operation in Vienna, for argument's sake, where you'll have ethical pension funds involved in delivery. I expect the Land Development Agency to deliver at a significant level on cost rental also. So look, I actually believe that the capacity that we have here and the potential in this area is actually vast. And I would think that we're looking back at this year and today and over the last few weeks when we established this under legislation, that we could be looking back in 3, 4, 5 years' time, where we'll have hundreds and thousands of cost rental tenancies in every part of the country. And I want to see a good regional spread. To answer Senator Cummins as well, we will be, as we move the CREL forward, be looking at, we had 8 schemes in the first one, and I hope that we'll have the Affordable Fund open and CREL open, that we can look at schemes again, that they come forward, because I'm particularly anxious about near-time delivery. Like, I want to see people in these homes as quick as possible. So where homes are being delivered now, and that's why the Affordable Bill in general now will allow for, you know, mixed tenure turnkey as well, where we're going to have like affordable and social and cost rental all in the one. I think it'll really broaden the opportunities for delivery of homes, but the opportunities for the real people that matter, who are the people stuck in in an unaffordable rental trap, living at home with their folks into their 30s and 40s who either want to buy it at an affordable rate or want to rent at an affordable rate. Thanks.
Thanks, Minister. And now I call on you to speak to the amendments in Group 4, which are amendments 8 to 12 inclusive. Thanks.
Okay. 8 to 12. Yeah, these relate to amendments to Part 5 of the Planning and Development Act, and I flagged during the second stage debate that these amendments, which their purpose is to expand the use of the Part 5 in accordance with the Programme for Government commitment, and that I'd add this addition to it I'd add these changes to the Part 5 to add in affordable housing on top of protecting the 10% social, and that I would do that during its passage through the Dáil. The changes we're making to Part 5 entail a number of amendments to Section 93 through 97 of the 2000 Act, and these all have been included in a new Part 6 within this bill, with a separate section in this affordable bill for each of those sections in the Planning Act. Consequently, the 3 Part 5 amendments already included in Section 26 of the published bill have been moved to the new Part 6, and what was Section 26 is now deleted. The effect of the substantive amendments to Sections 93 through 97 of the 2000 Act will implement the Programme for Government commitment, which is in relation to expanding Part 5 to encompass affordable purchase and cost rental units and introducing affordable home requirements to Part 5. And it is particularly pleasing for myself as well. I was involved in the negotiations and putting together the Programme for Government that we're seeing on housing now. A lot of what we said we would do as a government in the Programme for Government actually now coming to fruition. I want to particularly thank as well my own team on this within the department, and also the Attorney General and his staff for the work on it, because in summary the provisions now will mean that the Part 5 requirement to a mandatory 20% in all cases for social and affordable requirements. Colleagues, remember that was changed a number of years ago, different times, and that was fine. Now I think it's time to change that back and make sure we're protecting the 10% and we're adding the 10% affordable. It'll remove the link to a specified percentage need in the housing strategy reflected in development plan objectives, require a minimum social housing contribution of 10%. It'll include cost rental within the housing need for estimation in the housing strategy and for the provision using the Part 5 requirement in appropriate cases. And what that means is the 10% social in private, that can be varied and that can be done, but within that it can be cost rental and affordable purchase as well. I'll apply a 5-year provision for land purchase between the 1st of September, this is a transitional provision, 2015 to 31st July 2021, during which time the requirement will continue to be 10%, with all to be applied to the social housing provision. It will revert back to an exempted development site of less than 5 dwellings from the current figure of less than 10. I'll apply the Part 5 contribution to developments granted planning permission on land not zoned residential as a material contravention of the development plan, and provide for the estimation of social affordable and cost rental need breakdown by the Chief Executive during the period until the next housing strategy subsequent to the changes being made. Again, that's, I think, significant within the housing need demands assessment that the local authorities will run. They'll show what the estimation for social, affordable and indeed cost rental. Additionally, the opportunity was also taken to make some technical amendments to Part 5 to apply the site purchase and lease options and the house purchase price calculation provisions to approved housing bodies as well as to local authorities, remove the unnecessary 8-week time limit on the ability to refer disputes to arbitration, update some references to amended statutory provisions, and correct an anomaly in the exemption certificate provision. The main effect of the changes is that the mandatory 20% Part 5 requirement focuses on capturing the full amount of the planning gain for the state on every applicable site in every local authority area by breaking the link between the Part 5 requirement on each site and the social and affordable housing requirements of the local authority as set out in its housing strategy. Under these changes to Part 5, if a local authority does not require 20% of the properties in a permitted development for social and affordable housing, they can take the lower number of properties they do require and apply the balance of the equivalent, which is the net monetary value, as a discount on the cost of all of those units. And that's a significant change too. In the very unlikely event of a planning permission for a housing development at a location where there's no requirement for any type of social affordable purchase or cost rental, the Part 5 requirement can be satisfied by the transfer of land or the transfer of houses elsewhere in the local authority area. If the former, the local authority, can use the land for another of its functions or indeed sell on an open market and apply the proceeds to its housing functions only. If the latter, the cost of the acquisition of units elsewhere in the area will be reduced by the net monetary value of 20% of the land. In this way, once these changes take effect, the state will capture 20% of the planning gain from every applicable housing development. It's a very significant change. Thanks, Ciarán.